I was halfway up the third-floor stairs when a man in a dark coat came through the service door below me, moving fast but never looking rushed. A silver falcon flashed at his cuff. 10 seconds later, I found another man sitting against the wall, shivering hard enough to shake the railing. That was the moment I should have called someone. Instead I stopped. "Are you hurt?" His head lifted slowly. He looked about 34, maybe 35. White, dark brown hair, pale from the cold, gray-blue eyes that went straight past me to the stairwell door, then the fire exit, then back to my face. "I'm fine." People who were fine did not say it through clenched teeth. I tightened my grip on the canvas maintenance bag hanging from my shoulder. I had spent the last hour replacing a leaking sink trap in 4B, because the landlord refused to pay an emergency plumber. My apartment was 20 feet away. My bed was closer than any responsible decision. "You're shaking." I noticed. That almost made me leave him there. Almost. I had a rule about helping people. I would give time, food, rides, favors, whatever I could spare. What I did not give was dependence. Not mine. Not theirs. I learned that distinction years earlier, when someone I trusted taught me how quickly promises disappeared, when keeping them became inconvenient. The stranger pushed one hand against the wall and tried to stand. He made it halfway, then stopped. Not dramatically. No groan. No collapse. Just a tiny failure in his balance before he caught the railing. That was worse somehow. "Sit down." I don't take orders well. Then consider it excellent advice. His mouth shifted by maybe half an inch. I crouched several feet away. Up close, I could see a tear near the shoulder of his coat and a dark bruise along his jaw. I deliberately looked away from both. "Hospital." "No, police." His answer came faster. "No," I stood. "Then I'm out of options." He watched me turn toward my apartment. "Wait." One word. Quiet. But it carried the strange weight of someone used to being heard the first time. I looked back. "What?" "I need somewhere warm for an hour." I laughed once because the alternative was asking why a man who sounded like a corporate attorney and looked like he had never purchased anything on clearance was hiding in my stairwell. "You want me to let a stranger into my apartment?" "No," he glanced toward the service door again. "I'm asking whether you will." That difference bothered me. It also mattered. My building was old enough that every sound traveled. Mrs. Donnelly's television hummed behind 3A. Pipes knocked inside the wall. Somewhere upstairs, a kid dropped something heavy and his father shouted his name. Ordinary noises. My world. Whatever had put this man on my stairs did not belong in it. I should have protected that line. Instead, I heard myself say, "One night." His eyes returned to mine. "Not an hour? You can barely stand." "I can stand." "Congratulations." I unlocked my apartment. He did not move. I looked over my shoulder. "If you come inside, 3 rules. No weapons where I can reach them. No calls that bring strangers upstairs. And no lying about anything that affects my safety." Something changed in his face at the last one. Not guilt. Recognition. "I can agree to that." That wasn't a negotiation. I know. My apartment was exactly what it had always been. Tiny kitchen, second-hand couch, narrow windows, radiator with a metallic clicking problem I had stopped hearing months ago. He stepped inside and immediately checked the kitchen window, front door, and short hall leading to the bathroom. I noticed. He noticed me noticing. Neither of us commented. I pointed at the couch. "Coat off." "No," then freeze in style. After a long second, he removed it. The shoulder underneath had been bandaged badly beneath his shirt. I did not ask how. I brought my first aid kit, warmed soup, and the gray wool blanket I kept folded over the chair. He accepted the blanket like no one had handed him something without expecting payment in years. That thought unsettled me more than his bruises did. "What's your name?" I asked. "Adrian." "Claire." "I know." I froze. His gaze shifted toward my maintenance badge on the counter. "Claire Bennett." Right. I hated how relieved I felt. An hour later, his soup bowl sat empty. 2 hours later, Adrian was asleep beneath my blanket, one hand resting near the edge of the couch, his face finally unguarded. I locked the door twice before going to bed. At sunrise, engines began arriving outside. Not 1, 6, then more. I crossed to the window and looked down. Black SUVs lined both sides of my street with impossible precision. Men in dark coats stepped out and waited beside the vehicles without speaking. No horns. No shouting. No confusion. The entire block seemed to go quiet around them. Behind me, Adrian opened his eyes. I turned from the window. "Who are you?" He sat up slowly. Before he could answer, someone knocked 3 times. Measured. Respectful. Then a man's voice came through my apartment door. "Mr. Moretti. We found you." The name hit me a second before Adrian stood. Moretti. I knew it the way people knew the names of judges, developers, politicians, men who owned buildings through companies nobody could trace back to them. The kind of name spoken carefully. I looked at him. "You're Adrian Moretti." Yes. That single word changed the temperature of my apartment. The men outside stayed silent. Adrian crossed the room, but stopped before touching the lock. "My people are outside. No one comes in unless you allow it." I stared at him. "You lied to me. I withheld my name. You knew exactly what I meant last night." His jaw tightened. I pointed toward the couch. My rule was no lies about anything affecting my safety. Being the reason 8 black SUVs are blocking my street qualifies. "You're right." I had expected an argument. That answer knocked mine off balance. Adrian stepped away from the door. "I should have told you enough to make an informed decision." "Enough. I couldn't tell you everything." "Then you should have slept somewhere else." "Yes." The quiet certainty in his voice irritated me more than excuses would have. Another knock came. Adrian looked at me, not the door. "May I let one person in?" "No." He nodded once. Then he raised his voice. "Stay outside." A muffled reply came immediately. "Yes, sir." No hesitation. No negotiation. That was when I understood something I had missed the night before. Adrian had not sounded commanding because he enjoyed it. He sounded commanding because people obeyed him. I went to the window again. Across the street, a delivery driver stood beside his van, staring at the convoy. Mrs. Donnelly had opened her blinds halfway. A man in one of the SUVs noticed and turned his face away. I faced Adrian. "They need to leave. They're here because I disappeared. They're turning my building into a spectacle." His eyes moved toward the window. 5 minutes. He pulled out a phone I had not seen before and made 3 short calls. No threats. No raised voice. "Move the vehicles 2 blocks east." A pause. "Keep the entrance clear." Another pause. "No one questions residents." By the time he ended the last call, engines were already starting below. That unsettled me almost as much as the convoy itself. Power should have looked louder. His didn't. "You can do that with 3 sentences?" "Usually 2. I almost smiled. I refused to give him the satisfaction. "What happens now?" "I leave. And then? You go back to your life." "That sounds convenient." "It's meant to." I folded my arms. "Am I in danger?" For the first time, he did not answer immediately. That was answer enough. "Adrian." "I don't know." "You don't know." Someone knew where I would be last night. They should not have. My apartment suddenly felt smaller. He continued carefully. "If anyone believes you saw something connected to what happened, they may become interested in you." "Interested how?" "I'm not going to frighten you with possibilities I cannot confirm." It was the first decent thing he had said all morning. I hated that I noticed. "So your solution is what?" "Men outside my building." "If you permit it." "No." His expression barely changed. "No surveillance inside. No men following me to work. No one talking to my neighbors." "Understood." "You're agreeing awfully fast. You helped me when you had no reason to. That doesn't buy you access to my life." "I know." There it was again. Not charm. Restraint. I made the decision before I could talk myself out of it. "If there's a real threat, you tell me directly." "Me. Not your people." Adrian studied me, then nodded. "Agreed." He picked up his coat. At the door he paused. "Claire." "What?" "If you remember anything unusual from before you found me, call this number." He placed a playing card on my table. No logo. Just 10 digits. Then he left. By noon the street looked normal again. I almost convinced myself he had kept his word. Then I went downstairs to check a maintenance complaint. A black sedan sat across from the building. I ignored it. 20 minutes later it was still there. An hour after that, I carried trash through the rear alley. The same sedan rolled slowly past the service entrance. Same dent above the rear wheel. Same temporary plate. Not Adrian's convoy. I took out his card. This time calling him was my choice. I called before I could change my mind. Adrian answered on the second ring. Claire. No hello. No surprise. I watched the black sedan idle across the street. You said if there was a real threat, you'd tell me directly. A beat. Where are you? In my building. Stay there. No, his voice sharpened. Claire. I'm not letting you turn my apartment into a bunker because a car exists. It's been there how long? I told him. Silence. Then go upstairs. Lock your door. I looked through the lobby glass. The sedan's headlights came on. I'll go upstairs after you answer one question. What? Is that your car? No, that changed things. I stepped away from the glass. What are you going to do? Find out who it belongs to. How? I'll handle it. There was the problem. His version of handling things seemed to happen somewhere beyond my consent. No men inside the building. Claire. No one questions my neighbors. No one scares Mrs. Donnelly. And nobody touches our security system without telling me. The pause lasted longer this time. Fine. Say it. No one enters without your permission. Thank you. I climbed the stairs. By the time I reached the third floor, the sedan was gone. I stared through the hallway window. That fast. My phone buzzed. Adrian. Come downstairs. I almost refused on principle. Then I looked at the empty curb and went. He was waiting in the lobby alone. No convoy. No visible security. Just the same dark coat from that morning, folded over one arm because the shoulder beneath it was still stiff. You drove here yourself? No, of course not. His mouth moved slightly. I pointed toward the street. What happened to the sedan? One phone call made the driver leave. To whom? The company leasing the vehicle. I studied him. You can make a company move a car with one phone call? I can make people check information they normally ignore. That answer told me more about his power than the SUVs had. Not noise. Access. Systems moved because he asked. Or because they were afraid not to. Who was driving? We don't know yet. I frowned. You just made them leave before finding out? I made them leave because you were standing 6 feet from the window. That stopped me. He had chosen distance over information. I hadn't expected that. Come upstairs, I said. His eyes narrowed slightly. To talk. Nothing else. Your rules. Yes. Inside my apartment, Adrian stayed near the door. I noticed that too. Not because he feared me. Because I had drawn a line. And he remembered it. I opened my laptop and pulled up the building's security panel. If someone was watching me, they might have triggered the front camera. Adrian moved closer but did not touch the keyboard. I checked the overnight files. Then stopped. 3 folders were missing. Not corrupted. Deleted. I refreshed the archive. Nothing. That happen often? He asked. Never. My stomach tightened. Adrian's expression went still. This isn't about a car. No, I opened the maintenance settings and showed him the storage map. Our system is ancient. The landlord refuses to replace it. Meaning the main feed uploads remotely, but the cameras also dump local copies into a backup unit in the maintenance room. His eyes shifted to me. You have access? Usually. I checked. My badge authorization flashed red. Denied. I tried again. Same result. Someone had changed it. Adrian reached for his phone. I caught the movement. No, his hand stopped. You were about to send people. Yes. You promised. They altered your building access. And I'm the maintenance coordinator. That's why it matters. That's also why I decide how we handle it. For a second, neither of us moved. Then Adrian put the phone away. All right. Not agreement because I was harmless. Agreement because I had earned standing in the problem. I pulled up the administrative log. 1 deletion request. No employee name. Remote authorization. Timestamp. 3:17 a.m. Hours before Adrian's people found him. I looked at him. He looked at the screen. The sedan was not the beginning. Someone had reached into my building before sunrise and erased something they believed I might see. The timestamp stayed on my screen. 3:17 a.m. Adrian had been asleep on my couch then, which meant whoever touched my building system had done it before anyone publicly knew where he was. I looked at him. You said somebody knew where you would be. Yes. And now somebody knew where I was before your people showed up. His expression changed by almost nothing. That was becoming one of the things I noticed about him. The less he moved, the more serious the problem usually was. I need to reconstruct the night, I said. You need to stop. I closed the laptop. No, Claire. You don't get to say my name like that and turn it into an order. His jaw tightened. Then deliberately he stepped back from the table. What do you need? The question caught me harder than resistance would have. I opened the maintenance ledger. Door entries. Deliveries. Residents coming home. Anything I can verify without your people touching it. For the next hour we worked at my kitchen table. My world was handwritten repair notes, package timestamps, elevator complaints and misses. Donnelly reporting that someone had left recycling in the wrong bin. Adrian's world entered only in fragments. A phone set face down beside his hand. A driver waiting somewhere he never mentioned. People answering when he called. But he let me lead. At 11:42 p.m. a grocery delivery used the front entrance. At 12:18 the couple in 4C came home. At 12:31, I logged a broken hallway light near the service stairs. Then I remembered. The man. Adrian looked up. What man? Before I found you. I closed my eyes not to manufacture a face, but to hold on to the sequence. I was coming upstairs. Someone came out through the service door. Could you identify him? No, his disappointment was brief. Controlled. I kept thinking. Dark coat. Maybe gray. Expensive. That describes half the people I know. I know. Then I saw it again. Not a face. Light on metal. His cufflink. Adrian went still. What about it? Silver. Shaped like a bird. What kind? I don't know. Falcon maybe. For the first time since sunrise, Adrian looked genuinely unsettled. Not frightened. Recognizing. Caught it. You know somebody who wears those. I know several men who own distinctive jewelry. That wasn't my question. He looked at me for a long moment. Then he unlocked his phone. I can show you something. If you say you don't recognize anyone, I believe you. No pressure. No suggestion. He turned the screen toward me. A photograph. 7 men at some formal event standing shoulder to shoulder. I studied faces carefully. Nothing. Then my eyes dropped. One man near the end wore silver cufflinks. Small birds with spread wings. My pulse kicked. That. Adrian didn't touch the screen. You're certain about the shape? I'm certain about the shape. Not the man. Good. I frowned. Good. You're distinguishing memory from assumption. That landed differently than praise. He was trusting my limits. I zoomed in. The man was Victor Salerno. I knew the name only because Adrian gave it to me. Does he still wear them? Adrian pulled up a recent photograph. Victor stood beside him in a conference room. Plain black cufflinks. No falcons. That proves nothing, I said. No? You agree. I don't need you to be certain because I'm suspicious. That was the first moment I understood why people followed him. Not because he never doubted. Because he could. Then his phone buzzed. He read the message once. His face closed again. What? My movement log from that night. He turned the screen around. A sequence of timestamps filled the display. One section was blank. 11:56 p.m. to 12:19 a.m. 23 missing minutes. That shouldn't happen. No, who can alter it? Very few people. I looked from the gap to Victor's photograph. The problem had changed. This was no longer about someone outside Adrian's world trying to reach him. Someone inside it had rewritten where he had been. Adrian stood. I want you out of this for 48 hours. No, his gaze sharpened. Claire. I took a breath. Advice or order? Silence. Then he said, advice. I picked up my maintenance ledger. Then I'm not taking it. Then I'm not taking it. Adrian looked at me across my kitchen table. He didn't argue. That was worse. He picked up his phone, slipped it into his coat and said, if you keep going, understand what changes. What? You stop being incidental. I hated how calm he sounded. I think someone already changed that for me at 3:17 in the morning. His eyes held mine. Fair point. He left 10 minutes later without sending anyone upstairs, without ordering me anywhere, without pretending I was safe. I respected that more than I wanted to. Then I spent the next 2 hours proving him right. The building's maintenance records were boring enough to make conspiracy feel ridiculous. Pest control invoices, package logs, boiler inspections, vehicle access requests for contractors who used the rear alley. I worked through them anyway. At 2:06 p.m. I found a delivery authorization from the night Adrian appeared. A black Lincoln Navigator had been cleared to use the service lane for a network equipment inspection. There had been no inspection. I checked the plate. The authorization had been entered under a contractor account I had never seen before. My first instinct was to call Adrian. My second was not to. That mattered. I wanted one piece of information that had not already passed through his world. So I called the property management company instead. I used my employee ID, gave them the authorization number, and asked for the contractor registration attached to the vehicle. The woman on the phone put me on hold. When she returned, her voice sounded confused. That account was created last month. By who? I can't see the individual name. Just the corporate registration. Can you send it to me? I can send what's in the building file. 5 minutes later, an email landed in my inbox. The registered company meant nothing to me. The mailing address did. It matched one listed on a charitable foundation brochure I had seen in Adrian's photograph. I stared at it for a full minute. Then I called him. He answered immediately. What happened? Not hello. Not I told you so. What company owns 418 West Harlow Holdings? Silence. Where did you get that name? Answer me first. Another pause. One of our shell companies. Our. The organization. My fingers tightened around the phone. Who controls it? I need to verify that. No, Claire. No more partial answers. You wanted me out because this makes me relevant? Fine. I'm relevant. So either you tell me what I'm standing in, or I handle it without you. That was the choice. I heard it as I said it. The line I could not uncross. Adrian went quiet long enough that I thought he might refuse. Then he said, send me the document. I did. 3 minutes passed. When he called back, his voice had changed. Victor has administrative authority over that company. I sat down. Not proof. Still not proof. But the room felt different. The car from that night? Registered through a chain that ends there. And you knew. No, I believed him. That frightened me more than if I hadn't. Adrian knew how his systems worked. If someone could move inside them without him seeing it, then his power had blind spots. And I was standing in one. What happens now? I asked. I restrict Victor's access without making it obvious. That will tell him you suspect him. If I do it badly. And if you do it well? He believes I suspect someone else. I looked at the maintenance ledger beside my laptop. You're going to lie to him? Yes. The answer was immediate. No apology. No performance. Just truth about the lie. Then tell me what you're not telling me. Another pause. Someone has already started reviewing internal records. Because of me? Because of the deleted footage, the vehicle, and the missing 23 minutes. That should have reassured me. It didn't. If they find my name, they won't get it from me. Not what I asked. No, it isn't. I closed my eyes. There it was. The harder question. Adrian could protect information. He could move cars, people, companies, records. But if Victor already had access to the same systems, protection itself might become a signal. I made the decision before fear could make it for me. I'm staying involved. Claire. You said if I kept going, I stopped being incidental. Yes. Good. Then stop treating me like something that can be moved off the board. The silence on the line felt different this time. Not resistance. Recognition. All right, he said. One word. But it changed the arrangement between us. I was no longer helping Adrian because I had sheltered a stranger. I was helping because someone had reached into my building, altered my access, erased records, and expected me to remain harmless. That version of my life was already gone. My laptop chimed. A new system notice appeared. Maintenance room access. Suspended. I stared at the message, then at the old brass spare key taped beneath my paper ledger. Electronic access was gone. The backup room was not. Adrian. I'm here. I think somebody just made their next move. And for the first time I already knew what mine was. I think somebody just made their next move. I pulled the brass spare key from beneath the ledger. Adrian heard the metal scrape against the tape. What are you doing? Going downstairs? No. You agreed I was involved. I agreed you were involved. I didn't agree you should walk into a room someone just tried to lock you out of. That's exactly why I'm going. Silence. Then his voice flattened into something precise. I can have people there in 90 seconds. And announce that we know the backup exists? Another pause. No, then don't. I grabbed my maintenance bag and left the apartment. The stairwell smelled like old paint and somebody's burned toast. Familiar. Ordinary. My hand still shook. That annoyed me more than fear itself. The maintenance room sat behind the laundry area in the basement. Its electronic reader flashed red when I tried my badge. Access denied. I held the brass key beside it. For once, the building being 20 years behind on upgrades worked in my favor. The deadbolt turned. Inside, the backup unit hummed beneath a shelf of air filters. Nothing dramatic. No intruder. No destroyed equipment. Just a blinking green light proving somebody had failed to erase everything. Claire. Adrian's voice came through my phone. I'm inside. Is anyone with you? No, lock the door. I almost argued. Then I did it. Not because he ordered me. Because this time it made sense. I connected the backup drive to the maintenance laptop and searched the timestamp from the night I found him. Files populated slowly. 12:04. 12:11. 12:17. Then the service lane camera loaded. A black navigator entered frame. I leaned closer. Same plate from the authorization record. My pulse jumped. Adrian. I'm listening. I found the vehicle. Can you see the driver? The camera angle caught windshield glare. Then the side of the vehicle as it stopped near the service entrance. No, a man stepped out. Too far away for a face. Dark coat. Controlled stride. He disappeared beneath the camera. Then 14 minutes later came back. As he reached for the rear door, something flashed at his wrist. Silver. My throat tightened. The cufflink. Adrian said nothing. Adrian. I heard you. I froze the frame. It was still too blurred to identify the man. But the shape was there. Wings. Falcon. The first night changed in my head. I had thought I noticed a meaningless detail because I was tired and irritated and trying to get upstairs. Now that detail had survived deleted footage, false access, and a vehicle tied to Victor. I copied the file twice. One drive went into my bag. The other into a lockbox beneath the building's boiler inspection forms. Only then did I unlock the door. Adrian stood on the other side. Alone. I stopped. How did you get here? Fast. That isn't an answer. No, his eyes went past me to the backup unit. You found it. Yes. I held up the drive. He reached for it. I didn't hand it over. His hand dropped. Fair. Then something else clicked. You knew my access was suspended before I told you. His face went still. I felt the floor shift beneath the conversation. How? Claire. How did you know? He looked toward the red badge reader. Not at me. That silence answered enough to hurt. You were monitoring the building system. Only changes connected to your safety. I stared at him. Since when? He didn't answer quickly. Part 1 came back to me. My apartment. My rules. No lies about anything affecting my safety. The black sedan. The deleted files. His people disappearing when I objected. All those moments when I had started telling myself he was learning restraint. Since sunrise? I asked. Yes. The word landed quietly. That made it worse. You said no surveillance inside my life. I said no surveillance inside your apartment. I took one step back. He looked like he hated that sentence as soon as it existed. But he had still said it. That's your defense? No. Then what is? That I believed knowing who approached your building could keep you alive. And knowing when my badge stopped working? Yes. Knowing when my access changed? Yes. What else? His silence stretched. That was the fracture. Not one fact. The pattern. He had respected my choices where I could see him while keeping another layer of control where I couldn't. I handed him nothing. I'm keeping the evidence. That may make you harder to protect. I know. If you separate from me now, Victor may still consider you relevant. I know. And if you stay? I looked at him. I don't know which decisions are actually mine. For the first time, Adrian had no answer ready. I moved past him. He did not stop me. That restraint hurt too. At the basement stairs, I turned once. Do not monitor my building access again. His face tightened. Then he nodded. All right. I walked upstairs carrying the only copy he could not control. Behind me, Adrian stayed where I had left him. For the first time since I brought him inside, I wasn't afraid he would follow. I was afraid he would keep his word. I expected Adrian to break his promise by morning. He didn't. No black sedan. No unfamiliar men near the lobby. No unexplained calls to property management. At 8:14, my electronic badge started working again. I checked the administrative log. The restoration request came from building management, not Adrian. For the first time since sunrise 2 days earlier, there was no invisible hand moving ahead of me. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I stood in the empty lobby with my badge in my palm and understood the cost of getting exactly what I had demanded. If someone came through that service door again, Adrian would not know. That was what respecting my boundary looked like. I hated that it hurt. I went to work. Not because anything was normal. Because pretending otherwise would let someone else decide what my life had become. All morning my phone stayed silent. By lunch I had checked it 6 times. That embarrassed me. I told myself I was waiting for information. Not him. At 2:30, an email arrived from the property management company. Urgent access review. I opened it. Several residents, including Mrs. Donnelly, had been flagged for unauthorized entry activity during the night Adrian appeared. My stomach dropped. Mrs. Donnelly had lived there 11 years. She barely used the service stairs because of her knee. The records were false. Someone was not just erasing evidence anymore. They were creating it. I printed the report and compared it against my handwritten ledger. 3 names. 3 impossible timestamps. One resident supposedly entered the building while I had personally been fixing his garbage disposal inside his apartment. I sat very still. Victor, or whoever was doing this, was building an alternate version of that night. And ordinary people were being written into it. My first instinct was Adrian. That was the moment I realized how deep the rupture had gone. I no longer knew whether calling him meant asking for help or surrendering control. So I didn't call. I documented everything myself. Printed copies. Screenshots. Original access logs. My handwritten maintenance entries. I placed them beside the backup drive from the basement. Then I opened Adrian's playing card. 10 digits. Nothing else. I turned it over. Blank. Of course it was. A man whose life depended on controlling information had given me a card containing almost none. I nearly laughed. Instead, my throat tightened. Because another memory surfaced. His hand stopping when I told him not to send people downstairs. His phone going back into his pocket. His refusal to touch my keyboard. His answer when I asked whether my uncertain memory was enough. No. He had believed my limits even when they made his life harder. That did not erase the surveillance. It did something more uncomfortable. It made the truth complicated. Adrian had violated my boundary because he believed control was protection. But when I finally drew the line where he could not reinterpret it, he had obeyed. Even knowing it made me harder to protect. My phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. No message. A minute later, an envelope slid beneath the office door. I froze. No footsteps followed. Inside was one photocopied page. A list of internal access codes. Most meant nothing to me. One did. 418 West Harlow Holdings. Beside it was a handwritten note. Ask Moretti who else loses if this comes out. No signature. I read it twice. Then a third time. This was not proof Adrian had betrayed me. It was worse. It suggested he had another reason to keep parts of the truth buried. I took out his card. If I called him now, I would not ask for protection. I would not ask whether I was safe. I would ask the question that could destroy whatever remained between us. I dialed. He answered immediately. Claire. My voice came out steadier than I felt. You told me to contact you if I wanted the truth. Silence. Then quietly. Yes. I want all of it now. I want all of it now. Adrian was quiet for 3 seconds. Then he said, come to the maintenance office. Your building. Your terms. That mattered. I took the backup drive, the printed access records, Victor's Shell Company registration, the photograph with the Falcon cufflinks, and the page someone had pushed under my door. Adrian arrived alone. No coat this time. No visible escort. He stopped inside the doorway and waited until I nodded before closing it. I placed everything on the desk between us. Start with this. I slid him the handwritten page. His expression changed when he read the line beneath 418 West Harlow Holdings. Ask Moretti who else loses if this comes out. Who loses? I asked. He looked at me. I do. Not the answer I expected. I opened the vehicle registration. Victor controlled the Shell Company. Yes. The car was here. Yes. The cufflink matches. Yes. Your movement log lost 23 minutes. Yes. And someone deleted my building footage before your people found you. Adrian put both hands flat on the desk. Victor had access to my private route that night. The pieces shifted. Not snapped together. Shifted. I pulled up the backup footage. The navigator entered the service lane. The man in the dark coat stepped out. Silver flashed at his wrist. I froze the frame. Adrian opened the older group photograph on his phone and placed it beside the screen. Same shape. Same spread wings. Then he showed me the internal movement log. The missing 23 minutes sat exactly across the window when Victor's car appeared at my building. My stomach went cold. He wasn't following you afterward. No. He was here before I found you. Yes. The truth arrived in stages. Victor had known Adrian's route. Victor's company had supplied the vehicle. Victor had come near my building after Adrian disappeared. Then Victor's access had been used to erase the evidence. I looked up. He came to see whether you were dead. Adrian didn't answer. He didn't need to. The silence was confirmation. I sat back. The stranger on my couch. The convoy at sunrise. The deleted camera files. The fake resident records. All of it came from the same decision made before I ever opened my apartment door. Victor had arranged the ambush. Then he had personally checked whether Adrian survived. My next question hurt more. Why didn't you release this earlier? Adrian looked at the documents. Because proving Victor did it means releasing the systems that prove how he could. What systems? Companies. Access records. Political favors. Security contracts. People who protected the organization because protecting it benefited them. And you. I'm in those records too. There it was. The final price. If Adrian exposed Victor completely, he would expose the machinery that kept Adrian powerful. Not just Victor's corruption. His own. I thought about every time Adrian had tried to keep information contained because control felt safer than truth. Then I pushed the backup drive toward him. No, his eyes lifted. We don't bury it. If we release everything, I lose more than Victor. I know. Businesses. Protection. Alliances. I know. And once it's public, I can't take it back. I held his gaze. Then decide who you are without it. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he took out his phone. Not to call security. Not to move anyone. He called an independent attorney whose name I recognized from a federal corruption case, and arranged authenticated delivery of the full records. When he ended the call, the room felt strangely quiet. Claire. What? I should have trusted you before I tried to protect you. I swallowed. That doesn't fix it. No, but he sent the files anyway. And for the first time, Adrian Moretti chose a truth he could not control over a power he could. The files were already gone. Adrian's attorney had the authenticated records. So did two outside legal teams instructed to release identical copies if anything was altered or withdrawn. For once, Adrian could not call the truth back. Neither could Victor. My phone started ringing before Adrian stopped. Property management. Then another number. Then the building superintendent. I answered the superintendent first. Claire. Something's wrong with the access system. Corporate says 3 residents may be connected to an investigation. They're not. You sure? Yes. I looked at the falsified entries spread across my desk. This was the part Adrian could not fix for me. But I could. I have the original maintenance ledger, time-stamped repair requests, and the local camera archive. Don't change anything. Don't delete anything. Send every request to alter resident records to me in writing. Adrian watched without interrupting. That mattered too. Within an hour, Victor's false version of the night began collapsing against records he had never controlled. Mrs. Donnelly had been home. Mr. Lewis had been standing beside me while I repaired his garbage disposal. The service lane authorization came from Victor's shell company. The deleted footage survived locally. And Adrian's missing 23 minutes matched the exact window Victor's vehicle appeared behind my building. No single clue had been enough. Together, they left nowhere for the lie to stand. Adrian's phone rang. He read the screen. Victor. I waited. Adrian declined the call. Not dramatically. One tap. That was all. You're not answering? No, why? Because there's nothing left to negotiate. By evening, Victor's access to the organization's companies had been suspended by people protecting themselves from the records Adrian released. Attorneys began preserving accounts. Contractors started cooperating. Men who once answered Victor immediately stopped returning his calls. Adrian did not order revenge. He did not threaten anyone. He let evidence do what fear usually did for him. And it cost him. 2 major business partners withdrew before midnight. A security company terminated its contract. 3 people Adrian had considered loyal resigned. He read each message without complaint. I understood then what sacrifice actually looked like. Not losing something because you were defeated. Choosing to lose it because keeping it required becoming the person you no longer wanted to be. Victor was removed through evidence, legal pressure, and the collapse of the access he had abused. The danger ended without anyone being dragged away in the dark. But Adrian's empire came out smaller. So did the distance between the truth and him. I still didn't forgive him that night. He didn't ask me to. That was part of why weeks later I finally called. Are you busy? Yes. I almost smiled. Can you come over? A pause. If you want me there. I do. He arrived alone. No convoy. No driver waiting at the curb. When he reached my door, he knocked. He did not try the handle. I opened it. For half a second, neither of us spoke. Then I noticed the gray wool blanket folded over my chair. The same one I had given him the night he could not stop shivering. I thought you kept that, I said. I returned it. Why? Because it was yours before it meant anything to me. I stepped aside. That was my choice. Adrian entered. He sat on the couch. Then I realized what he had not done. He had not checked the window. He had not looked toward the fire exit. He had not measured the distance to my front door. He just sat. I handed him a bowl of soup. He looked at it. Again. Don't get used to it. This time he smiled. Small. Real. I sat across from him. He had once entered my apartment because he needed somewhere safe. Now he was there because I had invited him. He ruled less than he had before. And somehow he had become more worthy of being trusted. Power had opened doors for Adrian Moretti all his life. The one that mattered most opened only when he learned to wait.